Welcome to the Lechtich Parsha podcast, where we delve into the Torah's timeless wisdom and uncover uplifting and empowering lessons tailored to the challenges of our generation. Akutin of Shabbos, Parshas Chayei Sarah Tavshin Pehei. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a wonderful week. Thanks to this week's sponsor, my dear friend Rabbi Yehuda Kaufman and family of Lakewood, New Jersey, in the schus of Ilu Neshama of his grandmother, Peril Bas Eliezer Shlomo. Her Shleishim is coming up this week. May her Neshama have an Aliyah. May she be a Melitz Yeshe for her entire Mishpacha. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, the Hassan Zaltz Law Firm, Meridian Senior Health, Bluestone Brokerage, and Mark Walgamuth and Associates. For future dedications to sponsor the weekly Lechtich publication podcast, please reach out to 845-367-2959. The Parsha opens up with Vayu Chayei Sarah. These were the years of Sarah, and Sarah died. And Rashi explains Lama Nismecha Misa Sarah Lakedes Yitzchak. What's the juxtaposition between the two parshas of the Akedas Yitzchak and the death of Sarah? So Rashi explains that Sarah died because of the Akedah. How so? So Rashi explains, and it's a Medrash Yalkut Shemaini, and the Medrash says that the Satan Samael was very upset that Avram was successful in the Akedas Yitzchak, that he went with strength, with Gevurah, and he didn't lose to the tactics of the Satan. And he overcame and he triumphed. And the Satan was very upset. And therefore, he went and told Sarah this Besura, this news, that Yitzchak was almost slaughtered. And upon hearing that, the Medrash says, His chila beicha umilalois shalish bechias, keneged shlish tekias, uparcha nishmas umesa. That Sarah let out 3 blows. She cried 3 times. And immediately her neshama left her body. Now, even though the Medrash sounds like it was because of this news that killed Sarah, we know that's not true, because everyone has their destined time to go, everyone has their determined time to stay in this world, and Sarah was no different. And even though she heard this news, and Rashi tells us that it was because of this news that she died, but it wasn't premature, it wasn't a second earlier that was destined for her, because the Medrash tells us in Bereshis, Yedei Hashem yemei temimim v'nachalosam lo'elim tiyah, keshem shehin temimim kach shenoisem temimim, which means that like the righteous are wholesome, so too are their days, which means everything is accounted for, everything has a cheshbon, and no one could go too early, too late. It's only going to happen, a person's only going to pass on to the next world when Hashem decides it's the time. And therefore, regarding Sarah as well, even though Rashi tells us that she died upon hearing the Besura, that Yitzchak, her son, her beloved son, was almost slaughtered, but that wasn't untimely. It was at the right time, and she reached a ripe, wholesome age. Which leaves us with the following question. If it is the Malach HaMavis, the Satan, who carries out taking people's lives, why was the Satan so strong? Why was he strategic in having Sarah passing on with this message about Yitzchak, about the Akedah? There's many other ways he could have gotten the job done. Why did the Satan plan for Sarah's fate to be dafka in this way, based on the Akedah Yitzchak? Rosh Yeshiva Rav Meir Soloveitchik Zecher Tzadik Levracha, the son of the Briskrov, enlightens us with a fascinating pshat. The Satan, Samael, he knew how important the Akedah was and what it would be for the future of Klal Yisrael. He knew that in the future, when it comes to din, when it comes to rachamim, that we're going to need to access the schos of Akedas Yitzchak. And the Satan did whatever he could in order to be an obstruction, in order to deter Avram from being successful in Akedas Yitzchak. One of the Midrashim tell us that the Satan saw Avram on his way to Har Moriah, and the Yalkut Shemaini relates, Kivin l'shayshamu l'Satan halach v'nasa l'fneim ki nahar gadol shelo yuchel lavar. The Satan turned himself into a nahar, into a river, in order that Avram and Yitzchak should not be able to pass through. Amar Avram im yordim hanarim misarani shema yitbo. Avram called out to Hashem, if me and Yitzchak go in, we're gonna drown. Yardu amdul hamamayim ad savareim. Avram and Yitzchak went into the water, this Satan water, until their necks. Something that I didn't know about. Maybe others didn't either. Besides the actual Akedas Yitzchak, on the way to doing the Akedas Yitzchak, there was another Akedah. They were willing to give up their lives. They walked into this river of the Malach HaMavis until their necks. They were willing to give up their lives in order to give up their lives. We can't understand the level of Mesiras Nefesh. They were on the way to give their lives up, and on the way to that, they were giving their lives. This is the extent, how far the Satan went out of his way in order to get Avram and Yitzchak not to pass this test. But nevertheless, They went through, they overcame, and Hashem saved them from this river. L'maisa, they went, and they were going to do the Akedah, and they passed the test, and they came back, and they were successful. And that schus, the Satan who good and well was put in the bank for Klal Yisrael for Deiros, which obviously upset the Satan very much. The Satan doesn't take losses very well. And the Satan said, I have one more plan. I have one more tactic, how I can still make an interception, how I could still overturn the schus. What was that? Says Meir Soloveitchik, it was at the time of the Petir of Sarah. While Sarah was dying, the Satan had a great idea. I'm going to go to Sarah, I'm going to tell her all about the Akedah, and through that, I'm going to kill her. V'kach Hava, he did that, he went, and she died. Now what happened? The Medrash tells us something fascinating. When Avram came home, Avram Avinu opened the door. He came back from Har Moriah, came back with Yitzchak. He opened the door to greet his wife Sarah, and he saw she wasn't living. He saw she was dead. And not only that, but he saw an angel, the angel of death, Samuel, was provoking him. Matris Kenegdoi. Now what does Matris Kenegdoi mean? Doesn't mean he was coming to kill Avram. He just killed Sarah. That much he wasn't going to do right now. What does matris mean? So the Pirush on the Medrash, the Matnas Kuhnu explains, it means Hisrasehu inin mechamas v'his garus v'giru haya lemar al yadech mesa Sarah. The Satan was telling Avram, as Avram just opened the door after overcoming and passing the last test, he was so happy, he was so excited to tell his wife. Lo and behold, he opened the door to see his wife passed away. And after all of this, the Satan comes and points fingers at Avram Avinu and says, Avram, you killed your own wife. If you would not have slaughtered your son, your wife would not have died. Says the Medrash that the reason why the Satan did this was in order to have Avram Avinu lose hope, to have charata, to have regret and remorse over what he did. This was the Yetzer Hara's final tactic, and how to get Avram to lose the schus of the Akedah at the most vulnerable, raw time, when he had to begin now sitting Shiva for his wife, who just died. The Satan cuts, digs deeper, and says, look at what you did, you killed your own wife. Tells this great tzaddik, the tzaddik Adar. This is what Avram Avinu had to put up with. The Satan wanted that during this time, he should have questions on Hashem, he should have tainas, he should look at Hashem and say, this is what you do to me? After I have overcame the 10th Nisayan, you kill my wife? Tzaddik viraloi, Rasha v'toivloi. How could this be? How is this Yiddishkeit? Yet despite all of this, what did Avram do? Says the next pasuk, Vayakam Avram me'al pnei meisoi. Avram Avinu rose up from the dead. Says the Radomsker, the Tiferet Shlomo, Vayakam means he got up right away. He didn't give himself the opportunity to eulogize his own wife and live through the pain, because he knew that in those moments, that's when the Atas HaYetzer, when the Satan could creep in and overpower and Chas v'Shalom lead him to despondency, to regret and remorse over the greatest trial of all times, and lose that schus for generations to come. And therefore, Vayakam Avram me'al pnei meisoi, that he wasn't masped his own wife. He moved right on. He didn't allow himself time to wallow and to sit in pain. He moved forward. He'll deal with the emotions later. He couldn't sacrifice the schus of the Akedas Yitzchak. That's why he was Vayakam me'al pnei meisoi. In life, we encounter different situations where we wonder, how could it be? Why? We do chesed for people and then we get slapped in the face. We shut our mouths and then we find out people ba'avalos. We'll go to hospital and visit someone who's sick and then we'll come out to have a ticket on our car. We have to realize that everything has a time. Hashem has it all planned out. And when we're doing the right thing, when we're doing Ratzon Hashem, if there's ever coincidences of like, hey, right after I did that chesed, something happened. Right after I did Achnas Zarchim, my boiler broke. That's the Satan. The Satan's able to coordinate, able to creep in and make us think twice. But we have to be stronger and make him think twice. Make him think again before he comes to us. Show him how powerful we are. Show him where we look for our source, Avramuna B'tachan. We have our Avram Avinu, we have the Avis, and we turn to them. We see how they acted. That Amuna, that B'tachan, we should be able to overcome all of life's tests, become the greatest we can be, give Nachatz Ruach Liyitzreinu, and to all be united with Mashiach Tzedkenu B'meher V'menu. Amen. I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you all enjoyed, and I wish you a wonderful Shabbos. I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a wonderful Shabbos.